Exports. And one of the most successful British exports to the United States during the past few years has been the spiritual investigator Paula Roberts. Amongst other things, Paula picks up the vibrations of the departed, as she demonstrated when she was brought into conjunction with the bed which might or might not have once contained Marilyn Monroe.
I am a medium, and spirits have the ability to make themselves known to me at certain times when they wish to convey an impression to me. You see, this is the bed, and it retains the vibration of a lot that happened in it. She just made me all cold. I'm sorry. Why has this never happened before?
Paula does all this spectacular stuff without ever ceasing to be the very model of a well-brought-up English gentlewoman. In fact, she once was a model before her horizons expanded to include the entire space-time continuum. And now she's standing by in New York, ready to make contact with us. Can you hear me, Paula Roberts?
Yes, indeed I can. Good evening.
Paula, that was a pretty scary scene next to Marilyn's bed. What actually happened?
Oh, that was one of my most shocking experiences. I went out to do that piece in a fairly light-hearted manner, and while the camera was rolling, after all that was tabloid press there, I got an extremely cold chill all the way down my back and spontaneously burst into tears. That is a true sign of spirit possession. That was absolute spirit possession. I was overcome by the sadness of the woman laying in that bed, crying her heart out. I was totally overcome. There's no way I could have faked that, nor would have I wanted to. I mean, that was the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me in that kind of way.
Do you do a lot of this ghost busting?
I do as much as possible. When I say a lot, there is, of course, not an enormous amount available because I work with a parapsychologist in a very serious fashion. I don't just breeze around people's houses who think they've got pink elephants dancing in the kitchen. But if there's a serious reason to believe that there is a haunting, then a whole experiment is set up, and I do that as often as possible. It's my personal love and hobby.
Paula, you sound so very English. Why did you move to New York?
Indeed. I truly believe, Clive, that was a destiny issue. I remembered comparatively recently, when I was about 20, consulting what I used to call a fortune teller then, who told me I would be in America, I'd be on television, and known as something of an authority on my field. I thought, pooey, what absolute nonsense that was there. Who cares? She was dead right. The minute I set foot in Manhattan, I knew I was supposed to be here. It's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind. And I was right.
Paula, I know that you predict the future, and I gather you've made some fairly startling predictions about recent events.
Yes, that's another aspect of my work. I work here with a newspaper for the New Year's Eve predictions. Last year, I put them in December. For example, the Gulf War. Although the troops were already in place, of course, at that time, the war had started, and I very categorically said our first US troops would be back here in the States in March, and the 3rd and 4th, back they came.
Do you have any predictions for us now?
I do have a couple. I feel that Castro will be out of Cuba early '93. I think that Ford Motors will be closing another UK facility. I also feel that a lot of the yachts in Monaco Harbour are going to be damaged by a severe gale about February '92. I also think you're going to be stuck with John Major for a while longer. Sorry to put it that way, but those are my feelings.
I've got a feeling the last one's fairly predictable, but you may have started stampedes in Cuba and in Dagenham. Let's just get back to that intriguing one about John Major. Are you saying that John Major is going to win the next election? Because it would save us all a lot of trouble here if we actually knew.
Actually, that is my feeling. And when I come up with things like that, I don't do research. I don't rush around with the people, because then I get confused by the facts. For example, when I talked about the Ford Motors closing down in UK, I don't even know if they've actually got a factory in the UK anymore. Because you have to work very spontaneously without checking the
Paula,
facts.
they've got a factory today, but after your prediction, they may not have one tomorrow. Do you ever see a career for yourself in British television as a psychic?
Well, quite honestly, and we shouldn't talk about these things before the event, but, well, why not? I feel that part of my reason to be here is to bring, because I have my own cable show here and have done for 7 years, it's time to do network. But I think unless I had come here to establish myself, after all, Clive, if I hadn't come here and established myself, I wouldn't be talking to you tonight.
Paula, moving to your astrological capacity, what can you actually tell about a person from their sign of the zodiac?
Oh, enormous amount. Now, I quickly looked at your combination of planets.
You did?
The elements are exactly the same as mine. You are a little unbalanced in air and fire, as I am as well. Your moon is in a water sign, as is mine. We have an extraordinarily similar combination of planets. Now, had I looked up at your chart and found you were totally, say, a mixture of Virgo and Capricorn, that wouldn't have been so thrilling.
What does it mean that we're both air and fire?
Enthusiasm, analytical, fast. There is a basic bounciness. There's an analytical. You have got 3 planets in the sign of Libra. Harmony, charm. You're perfect as an interviewer, absolutely perfect. But the fire gives you, that's the essence of the career person, the enthusiastic, the dynamic, the go-getting quality. After all, you went to a different country and set up. So did I.
Paula, it's absolutely uncanny the way you've read my character to a T. I've enjoyed this conversation hugely. I hope we can do it again sometime. Thank you very much, Paula Roberts.
I would be thrilled. Thank you so much. Good night.